We've got comfort food reimagined with a tailgate twist, plus some better for you swaps. I am Shelby, your ShopRite dietitian, and I have a Taco Tuesday meatloaf as well as a spinach and artichoke dip pasta that I'm going to show you how to make. These are perfect for family meals during the week, but they're also perfect for some make-ahead football foods if you're looking to have some nice meals that you can feed all of your fans. So I'm going to start with the Taco Tuesday meatloaf. I'm using a pound of organic lean ground beef. So I tend to choose 93.7 so that I get less fat. And it works well for something, especially this meatloaf, because we're putting so much flavor in it. When you're making something like that, you don't really need the fat as much as maybe you're coming off of burger season and that fat is really flavoring your burger. So I have my lean ground beef. And like I said, we have it organic. If that's a lifestyle that you like to buy, you can search for our organic items on our website. So I am adding a chopped small onion. Now, if you really want to make this easy, you can purchase the pre-chopped onion in your produce section so that for this dish, you don't actually have to take out the cutting board and really do any prep. So I'm going to add the onion. Then I have my lower sodium taco seasoning from Bowl and Basket. And I'm going to add about a teaspoon and a half of that. And I like this because it's not super spicy. So if you are making this with your kids and they have a bit of an intolerance to spice, it's not going to be too much for them to handle. But if you're making it for adults and you like it a little bit more spicy, you can just add a little bit more chili powder or cayenne pepper to suit your preferences. So I have a cup now of our taco sauce here, and I'm going to add half of that to the meatloaf. The other half is going to go on top. You can also, if you want to keep it simple without all that chopping, but add some more vegetables or produce, purchase one of our salsas that has those chunky vegetables in it. This one has the pineapple. You can get, we have the Texas caviar one, which has the corn and the black beans. So you can get a little bit more produce. You're still going to get that flavor profile. So I'm adding about a half a cup. And that's going to be good because that's going to add some moisture. And then if you couldn't already tell, this is a great dish to make with your kids. It's a lot of pouring into a bowl, and then they can get their hands dirty when we're going to mash it together. They can also help you making the breadcrumbs. So this is probably my favorite twist of the Taco Tuesday meatloaf. Instead of breadcrumbs, we're using these white corn tortilla chips. I love the Bowl and Basket. The white corn, you could use the blue corn tortilla chips too. And you just have to crumble them up because you want them to be nice and fine. It doesn't matter, but if you just want it to kind of blend in, just keep letting your kids smush it. And then we're going to add about 2 cups in there. If you really want to, you could put it in the food processor, but the goal of this for family meals, we're keeping it simple all month long, and so I don't want to get another bowl or appliance dirty. Okay, so we've got our taco sauce, our seasoning, our tortilla chips, and our onions in our ground beef, and now we're just going to start mixing it together. Like I said, I am going to keep it a little neater with my spatula, but this is a great way to get your kids involved and have them put the meatloaf together. So once we mix it up, then we are going to put it in our loaf pan and then top it with the other half of that sauce. So I'm going to do that right now. Put that in. Again, I always say, if you know that you're going to have to make dinner in a pinch, there is nothing wrong maybe with having on hand a couple of your reusable or disposable foil trays in case you want to minimize the dishes. Okay, so we're just going to push that in there. And like I said, just make sure it's mixed up. I'm doing this a little bit for speed, so it's not as evenly distributed as I would like, but that's okay. All right. So we've got the rest of our taco sauce that we're going to pour on top. Perfect. And now this is going to go into the oven at 350 degrees for about 35 to 40 minutes. Then you're going to take it out. You could put a little bit more taco sauce on top if you want to really get that glaze look. And then a 425 for another 10 to 15 just to get that caramelization on top. And then you have your beautiful Taco Tuesday meatloaf. Now, what I love about this, great for the freezer. You can also cut it into portions, and then you can have these portions ready to go to put into some flour tortillas, and you've got taco night ready to go in your freezer. So that is our family meal number one. And the other nice thing about this is it's gluten-free because you are using those corn tortilla chips. So instead of having to purchase the gluten-free breadcrumbs and make a gluten-free separate meatloaf, you can use those tortilla chips as your breadcrumbs. So that can work even if you are going with a different flavor profile. All right, so now we're going to make our spinach and artichoke dip pasta. So I am actually using spinach and artichoke dip from Bowl and Basket as our pasta sauce. And I love when we can take our favorite things like dips and use it as a semi-homemade ingredient. So I think that this is really fun. And the nice thing about it is we are going to be infusing it with some things that makes it a healthier version of a dip that probably doesn't have, the best track record for maybe being the most better for you. So a couple of things. First, we have our spinach. You can never put too much spinach in a pan. If you've ever cooked it, you know it's going to cook down. So it's all good. Put as much as you want. When I've been making this, I've honestly been putting like all of this spinach in and then adding more because it really does cook down. And then the recipe on our recipe shop doesn't call for this, but might as well add some more vegetables. So I got the can of artichoke hearts and I got the quartered one. So again, another meal where we don't have to take out the cutting board and the knife. We're just assembling, which again, we want to keep it simple when we're thinking about family meals. It's a nice way to just make it easier on ourselves. And we're still getting in all of the things we need to in terms of that produce, in terms of, the good for you that we need. And you could see already this spinach in just a couple of seconds has started to shrink, which also, especially when we add the dip, makes it a really nice option for kind of infusing those veggies in to something that your kids are going to enjoy. And I also think introducing them to something like artichokes, which maybe isn't as standard as your broccoli that you're putting on the side of their plates, it's a nice way to see if they like some different veggies in there. So I have some cooked pasta here. For this dish, the recipe shop, it uses a chicken as your protein. To make it easier, instead of cooking that chicken and going that route, I like to use the chickpea pastas because they have the fiber and the protein from the chickpeas. So you're getting more bang for your buck. Plus, it's another plant protein source. So I prefer to use that because I find it to be a time saver. But you can absolutely utilize chicken cutlets, chop up some chicken and cook that first and then mix it back in. Or if you want to get really quote unquote fancy, you can mix some of the organic ground chicken with a packet of the spinach and artichoke dip mix, and you can make it into some chicken meatballs so that you're further infusing that flavor. And again, anytime you do anything with ground meats, just like we do with the meatloaf, great for freezer friendly. But for this one, we're keeping it plant-based. And so I'm going to toss in my pasta. And then what I did also is I saved some of my starchy pasta water from the cooking. And that's just going to help when I add the artichoke dip. Whoops, I'm losing some pastas. That's just going to help to make it more of a sauce and infuse it together. So here is my cooked spinach and artichoke dip. And we're just going to put all of that right in to our pan. Make sure we get all that goodness. And then after I mix it together, add a little bit of that starchy cooking water. About a half a cup to start. And instead of diffusing the flavor, because it's the starchy water, not just a water, you're going to get a nice amount of flavor, and it's going to thicken that sauce instead of diluting it. And it really is a nice looking pasta dish. You have those beautiful greens in there, as well as that creaminess from your sauce, from your dip, which you're turning into a sauce. Now, if you want to keep this plant-based, if you are leaving out that chicken component and you want to use the plant-based pasta, what I recommend is using our Bowl and Basket vegan Alfredo sauce, because if you pair this with the spinach and artichoke, and even if you take a little bit of the spinach and artichoke seasoning, you're going to get that flavor, but be able to keep it dairy-free and plant-based if you want to go that route. So there you have it. You could just finish it off with a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Oh, How many times have you done that? You always want to check if you open the side that's not the sprinkle side, it's going to be one very salty, cheesy dish, which might be a good thing. And there we go, our spinach and artichoke dipped pasta. So that's 2 meals, tailgate inspired, with better for you swaps all throughout. As always, you can visit our dietary and lifestyle guide page for finding different items that are going to be suitable swaps for all of your recipe needs. And make sure to like and follow us for more.